So Donne was definitely writing in a period with different opinions on gender equality, racial equality, and but you haven't shied away from that. You and Michael have kept that within the text. How do you address these issues?
Well, I address it by singing in a ridiculous way, but Michael has very cleverly subverted some of the more coded misogynistic language by sort of setting it in a way where the repetitions and the tone of how the vocal line leads it sort of undermines itself. It becomes sort of histrionic, theatrical, and it plays up the fact that a lot of this poetry isn't as bad as it looks on face value. Not bad, obviously, in terms of craft, because it's incredible poetry.
Yeah.
But to a modern eye, if you read it straight, you think, oh, this is quite progressive, because it has things like as false as thou art now. It has all these sort of implications that you'll never find a woman pure and true.
Yeah.
You might, get a declaration of love from her, but it would only last 2 minutes until she's on to the next thing. It's quite sour, and I think that some of that is autobiographical to John Donne's slightly unhappy up and down life. But it's also veiled in this sort of court mask culture where everything to some level is conceit, everything to some level is an affectation, it's a display. And once you begin to read it like that, a lot of that kind of venom drips away and it becomes this more kind of wry, tongue-in-cheek, almost comic sort of display of love. And you have this incredible imagery of, like, in The Sun Rising, for example, the sun rising up and illuminating sour apprentices, and all of these sort of are being equated with princes and kings, and it's sort of saying that all wealth is alchemy, all this gold is fool's gold. And it gives this series of layers which is really delicious to unpack, and Michael has set it brilliantly with kind of passages of incredible virtuosity, and poor Matt, his fingers are on fire.
Do not envy him.
Alongside these incredibly beautiful and still passages where there's a sort of ingenuousness comes through and you get this sort of tremulous, but if it could be that, and then it will come straight back to the scurrying around. There's a glorious line which I almost want to use as a sort of album name or something, a band name, where the sun is rising up and illuminating the world, and it's talking about cool country ants to harvest offices, and this idea of all of these sort of farm workers pouring out into the fields, and it's talking about sort of time dilation and everything, but it's incredibly modern in how it sort of comes across. So the sort of the uncomfortable nature of some of the language in how it portrays women in particular really isn't as bad as it first appears. It's very easy to draw the sting and to show it what it is, really. It's a sort of very human, very heartfelt response to overpowering emotion.